Alright, chat, what is this? The day video games are ruined forever. What day is that? Every day?
Why have video games become so terrible in recent years?
Ooh.
You know, games used to make me forget the real world existed. Hours would literally disappear.
True.
You'd look up at the time and realize you'd missed dinner and you didn't even care.
Yeah, that doesn't really happen anymore unless you're into a really good immersive game, which is pretty rare nowadays.
When I look back on those times, it all just felt so pure and simple. Like the developers had built something for you to just enjoy, with no strings attached once you purchased the game from the store and loaded it up. It was a ritual to stand outside waiting for the new game, going around the entire store.
This died, like, I think pre-COVID. I think COVID cooked it completely. Like, there's no more standing in line and, you know, waiting for the new game. Yeah, that's completely gone now. The last time I went to one was probably for a book thing. Yeah, maybe it was Harry Potter, like back in like 2009 and I was a kid.
Browsing the physical copies.
Yeah, I was
Gaming
one of
shops would
those.
be full of people, all just looking around wanting to play new things, or just
So
testing out new games in store. This is why ownership and player control really was the
Yeah, you
DNA
own
of the
nothing and
entire
be
gaming
unhappy.
industry. You could play Destiny with your friends every evening after waiting for the hype since Halo. Call of Duty matches that didn't require a credit card to win. Even mobile games like Angry Birds only cost 99 cents with the intention that you'd own them forever. Gaming truly was a magical period.
Oh, Fruit Ninja on mobile? Dude, there was some Asian kids in my school that like loved this game and they would get like points in the thousands. It was fantastic.
A decade ago, but we only
it
realized
was
how
fun.
amazing we had it
And no
when it was taken
ads,
away
too.
from us. And just look at what's replaced it. Call
skibbity
of Duty
blops.
Black Ops 7 has you fighting giant monsters and dodging massive machetes falling from the sky. Zombies everywhere, physics-breaking brain rot that looks like Fortnite. Because when
so
you look back
bad.
now, that the golden era has just completely shattered. You get pummeled with microtransactions for things that should just be free. You simply can't compete or win
Oh
without
my
burning
God,
through
dude.
cash, even though you've paid for the game.
Yeah,
Sometimes the game
true,
promised
actually.
won't even work if you don't get the next DLC. And then when the game does eventually dry
Gotta
up,
squeeze
you're
your
left
money
sitting
out
on thousands
somehow.
of dollars worth of purchases that vanish into nothing. Zero value, zero transferability. But here's the bit that most people overlook. This isn't just about gaming getting worse. It's about something far more insidious that's spreading into every corner of our lives.
Ads
It's getting clear that
everywhere.
the studios that once built the worlds we loved helped pioneer a system that's now cannibalizing everything. From the products we buy to how we consume entertainment, to getting an entire generation of children addicted to gambling, and ultimately how corporations keep us.
When I saw that little kid using gambling terminology while talking about Roblox opening up boxes and like saying like, oh chat, we're in, mom, we're in, mom, get the camera, this is a really good roll. And you're just sitting there like, you should know those kinds of terms. Like, I only recently learned about Gamba terminology because I've seen so many videos talking about it, and I actually looked into streamers that use that kind of terminology.
Hooked on things that make us miserable, all whilst robbing us of our money. Now at this point it almost just seems obvious that this is the way the gaming industry is, but it never would have seemed possible back in the golden era of gaming, which wasn't even that long ago. Rushing home from school, throwing your bag down, racing to turn on the console before anyone else would claim the TV, when you had no work,
Yes.
no to-do list grating at the back of your mind.
I do think there's a factor of like having responsibilities because like I have to go through a checklist of like, I need to feed the cat, I need to brush the dog, I need to like, you know, I need to do things, I need to work out, I need to like do stuff before bed, I need to talk to people in my DMs, I need to talk to people about like merch, products, whatever. Like I understand that happens to everybody, it's just that you can't like just sit down and forget yourself for like a minute. That's why I kind of haven't been playing Expedition 33, because I just can't sit down and play an immersive game. Excuse me, an immersive game like that without realizing that I need to go be doing other stuff. And it sucks, because like when you're a kid, you just like sat down and you played it for hours.
All you wanted to do is just keep playing, whether it be Fallout, Elder Scrolls, World of Warcraft, Knights of the Old Republic, Destiny, Mass
Oh my
Effect,
God,
The Witcher,
yes.
the original Borderlands, GTA, Halo, Age of Empires, Call of Duty, it doesn't even matter. There was
The Call of Duty that was actually about war and not about skibbity toilet. Look.
There were so many crazy good games,
God,
but all of them were
so
similar
good.
in the fact that they gave you something the real world couldn't. A place where your decisions actually mattered, where you could socialize with people you wouldn't normally talk to. At school, you just felt like another kid in the crowd staying with the same friend group. But in a
Another thing is that back in the day, even like admitting to playing League of Legends labeled you as a nerd. Yeah, the only thing that at my school specifically, if you admitted to playing like League of Legends, it was a little bit more acceptable because I had a majority Asian school that I went to, and I only got into League of Legends because there's a bunch of Korean girls and boys in my class that played it, and a couple of like Chinese kids, and we all played it together, so we had our own like little circle. And we'd play together, but I think, like, maybe before League, it was not acceptable to, like, out yourself as, like, playing WoW, playing League, playing, like, different games. It labeled you as a nerd.
Game,
Now
you had
you do that,
control
it's
and
like,
power,
okay.
all while having lots of fun and socializing. It was genuinely escapism
old
in its
PewDiePie,
purest
man.
form. You could spend your Saturday completely alone, lost in these massive worlds, but it didn't feel lonely. It just felt like an adventure. It felt wholesome, stimulating, but it was also social in a way that it isn't now. That's
Yeah.
why Saturday mornings meant coordinating with friends hours in advance. Why pizza nights in someone's basement for Halo tournaments felt more important than anything else. Gaming didn't just entertain us, it built our social world. It gave us a sense of community in an age of loneliness.
That's another thing, man. Games nowadays is all about, like, if you don't play the game, you miss out. If you don't play the game at... Jesus Christ, what is wrong with people today? Oh, this account was created yesterday? That makes sense. Okay, what a gooner. Anyway, what was I saying? Games now want you to log in every day, whereas if you left a game on and then you went to go do something else back in the day, it wasn't a big deal. You could always come back to the game and you'll be fine. Now, if you don't invest into a game, you don't learn it. You don't learn it inside out. There's constant changes. There's constant updates, constant patches. If you played Fortnite 6 years ago, when it first like became really popular, and then you play today, it's a completely different game. And I think that's like a really, really massive turnoff for a lot of people.
Play endlessly with friends and strangers who became friends, sometimes even meeting them in real life. Some of your deepest childhood friendships were forged in these digital environments, it was for me at least. But that's when you realize that something about those experiences felt fundamentally different. Games used to respect our curiosity and intelligence, painstakingly crafted so every detail was exquisite and perfect. They required you to think strategically, to pay attention, to engage rather than mindlessly consume. That respect for the player, companies built their entire reputation on it. Take Bethesda's Morrowind in 2002, a vast detailed environment containing loads of cool creative architecture and some 200 books documenting the world's history. It's actually unbelievable.
And it was still janky as fuck and buggy as fuck, but people still played it because it's really fun.
How much work went into this, and all that hard work did pay off massively. Oblivion then arrived in 2006 and instantly topped it. Then it was Skyrim in 2011, which blew people's minds again, selling even more copies. It is still one of the best-selling games of all.
And it was word of mouth too, not because of journalists posting about it on IGN or whatever back in 2011. I remember I went to an EB Games because EB Games is like the equivalent of like Best Buy in New Zealand and Australia. I remember seeing, it wasn't on the day it came out. It was like a couple of weeks later. I walked in there and I was like getting a League of Legends scratchy card where you could like buy it for $20 and then you'd like, because I didn't have a credit card and my parents didn't let me use their credit card or whatever for buying stuff online. So I had to go out and get the scratchy card and then go and activate it, right? I remember I walked in and I remember seeing a giant Skyrim poster, and then the guy that was like selling me the League of Legends card was like, "Hey, have you heard about like this new game called Skyrim?" And I was like, "No, what is it?" Oh, Oblivion? Like the same people that made Oblivion? Because my brother played Oblivion. And I was like, "Oh, that must be a good game." And he's like, "God, I love it so much. It's so fun." And now you don't really hear about, you hear more about through word of mouth online than in person. You don't go out anymore, you know? I see Skyrim is releasing another new edition for the Switch 2 release. Yep, thank you, Todd. Instead of making a new game, we're gonna release Skyrim for the 10th time.
All time with a 96 Metacritic score and 227 gaming awards.
Classic.
These games were among the best for giving people total autonomy and control. You can go anywhere, do anything, ignore the main quest entirely and just wander into a cave. Find a random book that tells you the history of some obscure guild from 300 years ago, or just find yourself immersed in a questline you had no idea existed.
True.
I'm sure we all know people who
really
sunk hundreds of hours into Skyrim and still found new things. I used to be an adventurer like you became a meme that transcended gaming itself. Gamers like World of Warcraft became cultural icons.
Oh, the Lich King fight. Oh.
Appearing on TV shows like South Park. Everyone relied on Warzone to stay connected with friends in 2022. And you've probably got something else to add to this endless list of amazing gaming experiences. It was practically endless. And you honestly realized that we had it so good before the course of gaming was steered onto a different path that no one wanted
$30 a month for Xbox Pass. Ugh.
or asked for. Because somewhere along the way, games began to change in ways that didn't feel important at first. You might even remember when things started changing around 2014-2015, right when corporate money started flooding into gaming like never before.
I disagree. I think that corpos started in around about 2008 to 2009 earliest, because EA, that's when they put in gambling boxes into FIFA. If I remember correctly, it was 2009 or 2010. That's when they realized they could sink in money. 2015 is when it started bleeding in a lot more. Like, it was more obvious. And then by 2020, it was completely like a mask off.
Big tech.
Because that's when they put... 2010 is also when Activision Blizzard finalized the deal of handing over for combining with Blizzard, and that's when they also put in the mounts into World of Warcraft, and people were mauling out. And now we just have like a subscription and you know, transmogs and all that, and pets and stuff on the shop, you know, like it's gone completely off the rails.
Spotted an industry bigger than Hollywood and wanted exposure. With low interest rates and cheap capital, the culture surrounding tech changed too. Move fast and break things became the mantra, and the patient, methodical strategy that defined the golden era started to break apart. Then came a tidal wave of acquisitions. In 2014 alone, Microsoft bought Mojang, which created Minecraft, for $2.5 billion. Facebook then paid $2 billion for Oculus VR. Amazon grabbed Twitch for nearly $1 billion.
Yeah, but that was a terrible decision. The other two still make them money, like a lot of money. Twitch loses them money, but they don't care.
And once that happened, the floodgates were open, and it never really stopped. Of course, the massive institutional investors like BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street also quietly became large shareholders in major gaming companies.
Vanguard, BlackRock.
Unsurprisingly, BlackRock alone owned over 7% of Activision and held major stakes in EA. Crucially, they started to control the voting rights that influenced corporate strategy. Big tech is one thing, BlackRock is another, but what about when entire governments get involved in gaming? Well, this is exactly what happened when EA changed hands at an insane $55 billion. The buyers? Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, Silver Lake Private Equity, and Jared Kushner's investment firm Affinity Partners. So the Saudi government now owns the company behind FIFA, Madden, Battlefield, and The Sims. I mean, EA's already hated enough, and has already destroyed more cherished studios than any other publisher in history. And I mean systematically. Here's how it tends to play out.
It's so sad too, because Sims used to be a good game up until, I want to say, 2. 3 was already starting to push it, and they started like getting really mad at modders for creating free content for people to enjoy instead of buying DLC. They were already really egregious with DLC all the time since like Sims 2 and 1, where DLC would include like, I don't know, like 100 pieces of furniture, and it's like, did I really just pay like $20 for 100 pieces of virtual furniture? Yeah.
They acquire an innovative studio, force a live service pivot, meaning pivoting closed-loop games to something that evolves constantly with ongoing costs for players, or just set unrealistic sales targets and squeeze the company for everything. Then they shut down when the creative team can't transform a game into a microtransaction factory. So let's start with the biggest names they obliterated. First, we have Westwood Studios, which created Command & Conquer and
oh my god.
pioneered real-time strategy games. EA bought them in 1998 for $122.5 million. By March 2003, they were gone.
Yep.
One underperforming title and EA closed them down entirely.
It's so fucking sad, dude.
The co-founder said the shift from passion to profit took its toll.
Like
then there's Bullfrog Productions, who invented the god game genre. We're talking Populous Theme Park and Theme Hospital and Dungeon Keeper. EA absorbed them in 1995, and by 2001, the studio was effectively dead, partly due to pressure from EA and partly because their own bosses succumbed to greed and money. EA eventually forced the team to make licensed Harry Potter games instead. Anthem by BioWare practically failed under EA too, leaving the sequel cancelled.
Is a tragedy.
Then we have the case of Visceral Games in October 2017. Their Dead Space series defined survival horror and was profitable, but EA looked at those numbers and said that's not enough. They cancelled Visceral's ambitious single-player Star Wars game mid-development and shut down the entire studio, meaning
now we're never gonna get it. It's like completely gone. You're never gonna acquire that.
80 developers lost their jobs just like that. But why does this matter? Well, because EA decided single-player games obviously don't make enough money compared to live service games with endless microtransactions, which are a massive part of all of this greed and destruction of video games as a whole. EA brought the very worst form of this to gaming. It's a form of gambling, and they
literally coined gambling. Nobody else did gambling before EA. Not in video game form specifically.
Pushed it to kids. This is an outrage that should have been spoken about more by our politicians. Kids are obviously the giant market for video games. And when you push microtransactions, loot boxes, and all of this digital form of gambling, you're really just training a habit in kids to gamble when they're older. Which is why they don't want you to just finish. A
streamer I watched said that he got into gambling because when he was about 13 years old and his parents gave him $100 for Christmas to spend on whatever he wanted, he immediately ran to the computer after Christmas dinner, loaded up the card or whatever onto Steam, and bought a CSGO loot gambling box. Yeah, it's like an actual mental thing. Like, the guy talked about it on stream while I was playing some game, and he was like, yeah, that's like actually what got me into gambling, because I was like so excited. What an L. Yes, because kids don't know any better.
Story, be done, and move on, as you get real satisfaction from that.
Kids don't vote, so politicians don't care about them. Buddy, I got a newsflash for you. Even if you do vote for them, they don't give a fuck about you. I hate to break it to I hate to blow your mind on a video about why video games are bad, but politicians don't give a fuck about you, period. Even if you're an adult.
When the credits were on the campaign, and now you're just off to multiplayer. Whereas live service games with endless microtransactions, those never end, and neither does the spending. Gaming was changing into something more predatory that ruins people's lives. There were a few early warning signs.
Like yeah. This was Oblivion fucking plate armor for your horse. Yep, this is where it came from.
There's this infamous horse armor which costs $2.50 back in 2006.
Bought this shit?
It sparked massive backlash, but it proved that people would pay for in-game equipment. They later tried to monetize Skyrim's modding community and take a big cut of the profits. The community lost its mind, and within 72 hours, Valve pulled the entire thing down. The CEO said pissing off the internet cost you $1 million in just a couple of days. Those early in-game monetization attempts are trivial compared to what came next. But before we continue, I want to thank Clean My Mac for sponsoring today's video, as it's that time of the year when everything just starts piling up. Work, travel, and even digital clutter. It's that time when your Mac starts running slow, random pop-ups appear, and you've got no idea what's actually taking up all that space on your device. Which is why I want to tell you about Clean My Mac, as it's what I use to fix that. It's basically a control center for your Mac. It clears out old junk files, old cache, duplicate downloads, and all the background stuff that quietly fills up your system. The Smart Care feature keeps everything optimized, and it even has an anti-malware engine that scans for threats in one click to keep your Mac secure and running like new. They've also added a new cloud cleanup tool that scans your iCloud, Google Drive, and OneDrive, which then finds massive files that you might not even know about, wasting space both locally and online. Everything happens right on your Mac, so none of your private data ever leaves your computer, meaning it's fast, safe, and surprisingly satisfying to watch the clutter disappear. It just makes your Mac feel so much more organized and fresh. And since it's the holidays, the timing couldn't be any better. Everyone's baking cookies and wrapping gifts, but your Mac is full of the wrong kind of cookies.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing at an ad. My dad loves this junk. I tried to explain it to him that this is such a waste of time and money, but yeah,
digital ones that slow down everything. But with Clean My Mac, they will clear all the wrong cookies so that you can enjoy the right ones. So get tidy today with a 7-day free trial and use my code MOONREAL for 20% off.
My dad loves
the industry had tested the possibility of monetizing games beyond the price you pay in the store, and they wouldn't let it go. Call of Duty introduced loot boxes with powerful weapons in Black Ops 3. Destiny took it even further when they locked base game players out of weekly content unless they bought DLC.
I watched a video describing Destiny's monetization, and I think it's like, what, $400 to buy every single DLC? Like, even WoW isn't that bad. Like, Destiny, you have to buy every single expansion to do the raids. In WoW, if you have a subscription, you get all of the DLC up until the expansion that's not current. Like, it actually blows my mind how much, like, Destiny players love to eat dick.
Activision even filed a patent for systems designed to manipulate players into buying microtransactions through matchmaking.
No,
basically pitting new players against those deeper into the
40.
game to force them to upgrade their loadout in order to...
Didn't old WoW made you buy all the X-Packs? Yes, they did. You're absolutely right. But they even stopped doing that. I think it was in, like, Warlords of Draenor, which was, like, 10 years ago. Destiny still does what WoW used to do. Yeah, they changed that, like, I think it was WoD or Legion, maybe? Was it MOP? Yeah, maybe it was MOP. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. Yeah, they stopped doing that shit 10 years ago. Did you get a refund? No, I did not! I was pissed! I just bought Kata and MOP in MOP, and then I had to fucking buy... And then they did the fucking change. It was so bad.
Mobile game is an even more hellish environment for loot box mechanics and laid the groundwork with Candy Crush and Farmville. I mean, just take Angry Birds. When it launched in 2009, it cost 99 cents, a complete game that you owned forever. Because it was made with love and it was a fair transaction, it became a cultural phenomenon. But in 2015, they couldn't let that go. Angry Birds 2 then launched as free-to-play, but with aggressive monetization. Revenues soared 50% annually, and they ended up deleting the original entirely. When fans did petition to
they just straight up deleted it. You bought this and it's gone.
Bring it back, Rovio re-released it for 99 cents again in 2022. It immediately became the second best-selling paid app. Then in 2013, they once again deleted it, admitting the paid version had an impact on our wider games portfolio.
Yeah, because it's a good game.
Which in other words means people preferred the version without predatory monetization, and that was threatening their free-to-play profits. Genshin Impact generates an average of $1.6 billion in annual revenue, and is another heinous example of loot box mechanics. The system comes with low drop rates for under 1% for top-tier items, costing approximately $25 for 10 pulls, but there's a pity system that guarantees a 5-star after 90 pulls.
90 pulls? How much money do you have to get to 90 pulls? Does anybody know? League does this too, by the way. There's these skins that they've been recently coming out, and if you spend like $200, you get a guaranteed pull. It's $200. Oh my god, that's an insane amount of money.
costing approximately $25
God.
for 10 pulls, but there's a pity system that guarantees a 5-star after 90 pulls. This means potentially spending $900 on a single character for a single item, with the added pressure that you know you will get it eventually if you just spend more money. It's just a classic case of the sunk cost fallacy, where someone resists abandoning a strategy because they're invested deeply into it.
Video games like Destiny, Guild Wars, World of Warcraft, like most MMOs, the sunk cost fallacy isn't necessarily your money, it's your time, and that's what they bet on as well. That's why WoW is still pretty popular. It's not completely dead because there's a lot of people that have invested thousands. I'm talking like 20 to 40, maybe even more than that, 50,000 hours into the game, and they just can't click because it's like, oh god, I spent all this time on a video game and I have to give it up. Like, oh shit, like I'm never gonna stop playing it.
It becomes so tempting to just do one more pull, but it was EA who brought the very worst form of loot boxes to gaming and pushed it to children. FIFA Ultimate Team is a perfect example of this. It generated 29% of EA's entire revenue. And it works like this: you buy packs of virtual cards. You don't know what's in them, it's pure RNG, meaning it's using a random number generator, just like a slot machine. Then they used influencer marketing at a massive scale, advertising unrealistically impressive card pulls to get everyone hooked. And suddenly, if you didn't do this, you would always be at a massive disadvantage compared to others who spent more on this. That's why there's tons of stories of people losing thousands on these games. Kids buying hundreds of packs on credit cards that their parents can't afford. People have literally gone into rehab for
That's such a skill issue because there's Karens that spend $20,000 on like Candy Crush. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if you give your kids like unfettered access to your credit card, that's a skill issue. But if you're an adult, that's like, that's literally all your fault. You're such an idiot. $20,000.
Belgium and the Netherlands eventually declared EA's loot boxes illegal gambling. They threatened fines up to 800,000 euros and 5 years imprisonment, doubled if you're selling to minors. EA tried to fight this in court and lost, but practically everywhere else, it's just...
But if people still play FIFA and all sorts of other EA games, it didn't really do anything.
Business as usual. When Star Wars Battlefront 2 came out with its brutal loot box system, EA finally felt compelled to defend their business practices on Reddit, saying, quote, "The intent is to provide players with a sense of pride."
Guys, did you know if you're not poor, that makes you proud? Wow, that's crazy.
The intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment. This became the most downvoted comment in Reddit history, with 673,000 downvotes. This is exactly what Big Tech, BlackRock, and the Saudi government want a piece of. Gaming had cracked something that social media platforms had been chasing for years.
Guys, money equals good. Poor equals bad. Yeah.
People willingly paying money to stay hooked. Facebook could keep you scrolling, but monetizing that compulsion was tricky. Games just asked you for your credit card, and you practically handed it over. The other difference was scale and precision. Gaming companies knew that loot boxes worked. Tech companies knew why they worked and how to maximize their effectiveness to generate more value for shareholders. They had the testing infrastructure, the behavioral data, and the models that could predict exactly when someone was about to quit versus when they were one purchase away.
I had this schizo theory. Hear me out. I played BDO back in like when it first came out on Steam and it came to the West. I played it and I would only spend like maybe like $100 a month on it. Like I had a hard limit. I'd be like, okay, I'm not gonna play any other game. I didn't have any other subscriptions to any games. I quit WoW. I would only spend $100 a month because that was within my budget, right? And when I spend $100, yes, $100. Okay, hear me out. I know that's a lot of money, but I was a little addict. But anyway, $100. I was like, God damn, I need $100 for my BDO. I want to get some good gear. I remember I developed a schizo theory. If you spent more than $100, it's like it knew your spending habits. If you spent more than $100, it would give you the piece of gear that you wanted. I know this is gonna sound so insane, but I was like, oh my god, if I spend a little bit more money, maybe it'll hit, and it would always hit. It was such a sick, kind of twisted ass, like, logic, but I think it was real. I think they study your spending habits after a couple of months of what you input into the game, and then they say, okay, well, this person could spend, like, you know, $50 a month or $20. If they spend $40, we'll give them a hint. Where's your tinfoil hat? No, I'm serious. I know it's gonna sound crazy. It's true.
From staying. I do wonder though whether we might have actually accepted the rise of aggressive microtransactions to some extent if the games themselves kept improving and blowing our minds. But it's been the exact opposite. And this shows you what they stole from the gaming experience itself. That feeling of a shared memory with your friends is all just being ripped away by games that just suck time after time. Imagine something as beloved as Call of Duty, which had Hans Zimmer composing the music, and MLG memes completely taking over the discourse online. But in the same last 10 years, it's now one of the most hated franchises in history. The
Outer Space, Skibbity Toilet, Resident Evil looking ass.
Warfare trailer that dropped in 2016 became the second most disliked video on YouTube with over 3.9 million dislikes. But at least you could pay for some weird camo. Then they held the Modern Warfare remaster, which is the game everyone actually wanted, behind expensive Infinite Warfare bundles. When Microsoft later bought ZeniMax, Bethesda's parent company, for $7.5 billion in cash, they had one chance to prove it could work. And to be fair, their first game, Starfield, got decent scores, but
guys, we do not listen to Metacritic. Hello? Metascore 83? What are the charts right now on Steam? I gotta look. This is some crazy gaslighting. Pretty good scores. Starfield. Oh my god. Can you fucking let me... Ugh. It's still under mixed reviews. People still think it blows.
once people got stuck in, it just felt so empty.
Not good.
Thousands of planets to explore, but few of them had anything interesting on them. Then came mods, except this time they were called creations. We're talking an absolutely outrageous $7 for a 15-minute quest in a $70 game. Within 2 years, players dropped 97% to around 3,700 average players.
I'm pretty sure there's more people playing Fallout New Vegas right now than Starfield. I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure.
For perspective, Skyrim still has some 20,000 daily players.
Skyrim has literally 4 times. Wait, not 4 times. Fucking 7 times the amount? Are you kidding?
New games don't even work when they're released. When the highly anticipated Fallout 76 dropped in November 2018, there were over 200 bugs identified at launch, leading to a 56GB day one patch. They'd advertised a $200 Power Armor edition with a West Tech canvas duffel bag, but what actually shipped was cheap nylon, and so everyone blew up about it. When people complained, their response was to offer a pathetic $500
in virtual currency, not even a refund. They gave him $5 on their dog shit game.
Atoms, roughly $5 worth of in-game currency as compensation for a $200 purchase.
It's 6,800 people playing Fallout New Vegas versus Starfield, which has 3,000. Fallout New Vegas came out 15 years ago, and it has double the amount of people playing it on Steam. Isn't that fucking pathetic? When did Starfield come out? Like 2-3 years ago?
Turned out they'd given actual canvas bags to influencers at a private event the month before, whereas regular customers, the ones dumb enough to pay $200, got the garbage. That didn't just feel like incompetence anymore. It was just pure contempt for those who love the franchise. That's 100%
on purpose, because if you saw an influencer with the nice bag, you're more inclined to buy it, because you think like, oh, I'm gonna get that bag.
The most. Sure, there have been a few anomalies in recent years, Red Dead Redemption, Elden Ring, Battlefield 3, but you get a game like that every few years, whereas it used to be a few every single year, and even these rare exceptions are constantly pushed back or cancelled. Speaking of which, you've probably heard that GTA 6 is once again delayed. It's a game that's expected to cost an unprecedented $2 billion to make, more than any game in history, And for some perspective, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, the literal tallest building in the world, cost more like $1.5 billion and was completed in just 6 years. Since it was announced, we've seen
We've got to stop. We have lost the plot. We have lost the fucking plot. GTA 6 cost $2 billion, cost 12 years to complete. And the Khalifa, the tall building in Saudi Arabia took less time and it was less expensive somehow. Long time ago, like, even with inflation, it wouldn't even come close. I mean, it's a fucking building.
12
it's gonna
Call of
last
Duty
through
games
time,
and
right?
8 Assassin's Creed games released in that same time frame. And yet, the GTA franchise will always be better remembered. People don't care if it's gonna cost a bunch or when it's even gonna be released.
Dude, I feel like I'm gonna be so disappointed.
Because Rockstar is seemingly one of the only AAA studios that still builds the magical game experiences that we had in the golden era. But this super slow, expensive development model is just so incredibly risky, because making a profit from this kind of game will just become harder and harder without charging through the roof. There's so much riding on it, it's literally a once-in-a-generation event, and probably the only game that can save gaming right now. How crazy is that? A game people are genuinely excited for that might happen once every decade or so if we're even lucky. But behind the scenes, while gaming profits are higher than ever because of all of these horrendous in-game transactions sucking money out of players, the working conditions have also become terrible.
You won't be disappointed enough? No, I just feel like it's just gonna be so bad. Like, maybe like the hype, I don't know, like, I played a little bit of GTA 5 and 4 when I was a kid, but, like, I never got into GTA, so, like, I'm kind of seeing it through a fresh lens. Like, surely it can't be that bad, right?
Too. We saw this clearly when the gaming publication Kotaku investigated behind the scenes at that car crash Fallout 76 release, where they found evidence of QA testers working 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, with low pay being offered pizza and a $200 bonus to give up their weekends. Some testers had their bathroom breaks timed. One said they'd found
Oh, it's like working at Amazon. That's crazy. You have a guy like sitting there with a timer.
Fantasized about breaking a bone on the stairs so they'd be too injured to come to work.
Oh my god, I almost did that one time. They didn't accept my days off because I was feeling really, really bad, and I just said, like, I don't have any days off. And I just thought to myself, like, what if I just, like, broke my leg a little bit? Like, not too bad where I'm, like, crippled, but, like, enough where I can go to the doctor and say, like, hey, can I take, like, a week off or something? I thought about that at my old, really bad job.
Think about that. That's the kind of thing that happens in a labor camp in China. And the gaming industry has laid off something like 45,000 workers since 2022. When Microsoft bought Activision for nearly $69 billion, they immediately cut thousands of people. Unity, Sony, the same story. And a lot of these people were the OG developers of the greatest games. The actual artists with the creativity behind the games that made our childhoods.
My beloved.
Then one day they're just laid off in a Zoom call by these giant faceless companies. Or just finding out from social media before HR even tells them. And so you can see how anything remotely human has been hollowed out of the industry in the name of efficiency. So they don't respect the studios, they don't respect the developers. And you know what else they don't respect? The actual stories and worlds that made these franchises valuable in the first place. Just look at what Netflix did to The Witcher. According to a former writer on the show, some of the writers actively disliked the books and games.
Yeah, they were women that didn't play video games either.
And would even mock the source material in the writer's room. They hired people who didn't just not care about the thing they were adapting, they actively made fun of it. Henry Cavill, who was a massive fan of the books and games, spent 3 seasons fighting the showrunner to stay faithful to the source material.
Like, what's the point,
It got so bad they had to leave after season 3, and then the viewership collapsed with it. The prequel, Blood Origin, got an outrageously bad 13% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's bad.
So far this all looks like a classic tale of corporate corporate corruption and greed. But there's honestly a darker edge to this all. I mean, you've got to wonder, are people actually having fun when they even play these games?
Look at all that diversity, chat.
There's a crucial
That's the
difference between fun and compulsion. Fun is intrinsic. It arises from genuine engagement with the game world, from solving challenging puzzles, from collaborating with friends, making memories, socializing, and feeling really immersed in a different world. Compulsion is...
I want to play a game with chat where I just feel immersed and it's like we're goofing around and playing a game. And I want it to be an MMO specifically. I know MMO watching can be boring, but I remember watching like other people playing MMOs, and it was actually really fun. Yeah, I don't think MMOs are inherently bad to like watch. It's just that right now, every MMO out there right now is not fun to watch. Because it's not.
Extrinsic, driven by the promise of external rewards, by fear of missing out, by the nagging feeling that you need to keep playing when you're not enjoying it. Rewiring your brain with addictive gambling mechanisms. Scan Reddit and YouTube comments and you'll find tons of posts just saying the same thing. I just don't enjoy playing.
Why can't I enjoy playing games anymore? You know, that's another cope that I really, really hate is like, oh, well, you became an adult. That's why you hate video games. You have too many responsibilities. And I'm like, do you realize, like, my dad and my brother, when they got older and they got job, well, my brother got older and he got a job, like, he still loved to play video games. Now he thinks that they're not worth his time. He was like a hardcore COD Andy. He loved Counter-Strike. He loved Rainbow Six, the original. Now, he had a job back then. It's just that he made time for them. It's the cope of like, oh, well, now you're an adult. That's not true. People used to abandon their kids to play video games. You don't hear stories like that very much anymore. There's stories of people out there playing so much Sims that they neglected their kids. Not saying that's a great thing, but it's kind of a testament to how bad games are nowadays. Like, it's kind of rare to hear about that kind of story.
Games anymore. 63% of people don't even buy games now, an all-time low. And players no longer care about so many of the things that made those early games from the golden era just so
Dota! This is Dota! Oh.
Magical. Most gamers today care less about strategic thinking and planning when playing games than the average gamer did back in June 2015. The reality is, hard isn't profitable anymore. Hard games might get a cult following, but they'll never be as profitable as easy, accessible brainrot games like Fortnite, or even just random stuff like Subway Surfers. So why are revenues still so high? Well, it all does really just come down to these random rewards and how addictive they are. But there's absolutely nothing random about how they're designed to extract profits from players. Back in the 1930s, a Harvard psychologist named B.F. Skinner built a box with a rat inside. The rat pressed a lever and got food. That's simple. But then Skinner made the rewards random. Press, you get nothing. Press, nothing again. Press, this time, you get the food. The rat went absolutely berserk, pressing thousands of times, never knowing when the next pellet would drop.
We're just rats, chat. We're just rats. Chat, if you ever go and watch a gambling streamer, it's the same principle. They just press the lever over and over again, hoping for a different result.
Skinner said you could do this with any animal. He turned a pigeon into a pathological gambler in a demonstration. This is the mechanism behind every random loot box in every game you've ever played. Because they draw on the same underlying psychology. Genshin generates an average of $1.6 billion in annual revenue, and is one of the most egregious examples of
They make the same amount of money as it took, the same amount of money invested into GTA over 12 years in 1 year. That's how much they make a year.
Using addictive psychology for player profit extraction. Loot boxes come with low drop rates of under 1% for top tier items, costing approximately $25 for 10 pulls, but there's a pity system that guarantees a 5-star after 90 pulls. This means potentially spending $900 on a single character for—
And you don't realize you're doing it because they're not saying put in $900 in to get this character. You're putting in that amount of money, and they only do it in $200 increments, so you don't realize you spend that much either. It's a psychological thing. You think that they give a fuck about, like, asking your bank for $900? They do it because they don't want you to realize how much you buy. Yeah, like the gems, all the different currencies. You think that's not done on purpose?
single item, with the added pressure that you know you
Genshin
will
has
get
like
it
3
eventually
different types
if
of gems,
you
right?
spend more. Valve even, who were once the good guys, actually pioneered these exploitation techniques. Here's a stat that will truly shock you. By April 2019, over 71% of the most played Steam games featured loot boxes, with 86% containing cosmetic microtransactions. Valve earned nearly $1 billion from Counter-Strike loot boxes in 2023 alone. They claim they have no business relationship with gambling sites, and yet their entire system enables a massive grey market of skin gambling, in addition to cryptocurrency laundering. In late 2024, DayZ creator Dean Hall finally called them out directly on what we've been talking about in this video. Quote, "Valve does not get anywhere near enough criticism. I'm honestly disgusted with the gambling mechanics."
They get away with it because they actually make good games and good business decisions. If they made bad games, people would be shitting them a lot more. I've always been a very vehement like criticizer of Valve's gambling system after watching that video that explained how like they get a cut every single time someone buys like a gambling skin or like buys a loot box. Yeah, but the difference is that they make good games. They make good decisions.
Mechanics in video games at all, they have absolutely no place. Yanis, who worked as Valve's economist, said in 2024 that Valve helped create a hellscape, which he described as Technofeudalism, a system where corporations profit from digital platforms they fully control. Consumers live inside what he calls a digital fiefdom, where they don't own anything. They're forever paying some form of rent. Practically everything demands a subscription or a small ongoing cost, eroding our ability to own anything outright. And he's just right on so many levels.
And people will continue to eat the shit.
Levels that go beyond gaming and percolate into every inch of our digital society. You don't own your software anymore, it's all subscriptions. You don't own your music or movies, it's Spotify and Netflix, until they decide to pull content you pay.
Well, to be fair, I never bought CDs. I basically pirated everything when I was a kid. I didn't have money to buy CDs, are you kidding me? They were like $10, $15, sometimes $20 per disc. You think I had that kind of money?
For. You don't own your home. Blackstone bought them all and now you're a permanent renter. Even your job isn't stable anymore. Welcome to the gig economy where you own nothing, not even job security. You want to buy a car? You're going to start needing a subscription too.
You're going to need a subscription for your brakes. Oh, sorry, you're poor? Guess you don't need brakes, idiot.
Tech proved it worked once they conditioned an entire generation to think you own nothing and be happy was normal. Every other industry took notes. The gaming industry is a massive innovator of this model, making gaming companies compulsive and endless and boring. You don't need to make people happy with creativity and immersive world building. You just need to make them unable to stop and rake it in from ongoing transactions. Why spend 5 years crafting the next Skyrim when you can spend 6 months building a live service game with a battle pass, daily challenges, and FOMO mechanics that just keep people logging in every single day? You probably noticed that highly anticipated games just fail so often these days, but the truth is they rarely matter to the executives making the decisions. Because when it does work, you get a Fortnite, a Genshin Impact, and Apex Legends. The money is so obscene that it justifies every failure along the way. But there is another side to all of this that does offer a small glimmer of hope. In 2024, indie games made up nearly half of all Steam revenue.
Yes, that's so good. I just hope that these indie game companies don't end up destroying themselves with greed. Because at the end of the day, some people just want to retire and make the bag. And that's what happens sometimes. It sucks.
5 of the top 10 highest grossing games on Steam were indie titles. Tools like Unity and Unreal Engine made it possible for small teams to build games without massive budgets. Platforms like Steam let them reach players directly. When you're not answering to shareholders demanding massive growth every quarter, you can focus on making something genuinely great. But it's not exactly a fair fight. For every success story you hear about, there are thousands of developers who spent years making games almost nobody plays. And even the successful ones are competing against a huge money-making machine. AAA studios have marketing budgets bigger than entire indie development costs. They have established franchises, brand recognition, and algorithms that favor them. Small teams are making better games with a fraction of the resources. But the system is designed to crush them anyway. And I think the saddest part is how we've just accepted this as normal. An entire generation of gamers has grown up thinking this is what games are supposed to be. And yet they'll never know the feeling of buying a game, loading it up, and it's yours to enjoy without any intrusion or additional investment except maybe the occasional DLC that you genuinely look forward to. They'll never understand why you get that far away.
There are kids right now that are 18 years old that were born in 2007 that never experienced the days of where you'd go to a store to go get a game. Like, think about how fucked that is. They think, like, I just have to go to Steam and get my virtual download. Like, think about it. They're 18 years old. It is 2025. They were born in 2007. They started already phasing out physical copies by like 2010 to 2012. They didn't even have like the kids that were born then, they didn't have that experience. Yeah, renting a video game at Blockbuster, like getting the physical fucking discs. It's insane.
You look in your eyes when you talk about
Their
Halo
dad
3
might
or the
have talked
first time you
about
played
that.
Skyrim.
That's
What
it.
are we handing down to them? What world are we leaving behind? The industry makes more money than ever, but we've lost something that can't be measured in revenue. Curiosity, adventure, discovery, and community. Whatever you used to feel, it's just fading away. People keep playing even though they're not content or happy like they once used to be. We had something special. We had worlds we could get lost in, stories that stayed with us, moments we still remember years later. Now you can see they just traded it all the way for microtransactions. Endless.
When you buy something for $200, you're not gonna think about it like, you know, down the line. Not really. Yeah, when the game dies and they shut down the servers, you don't get to keep anything out of that.
Gameplay seasons and loot
It's
boxes
so sad,
for something that makes
dude.
us all measurably less happy while they get richer and richer, destroying video games in the process.
Yep. That's right. Bummer. Ah, man. It sucks. You know what? That encouraging silver lining of 48% of indie games made the revenue off of Steam is really good, though. I think it will turn around. I watch these Doomer videos and stuff, but I do think there's gonna be a shift. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. I do believe that.